here are my 2 points drawn with a line going through them. 0, 16 is there, 5, 7 is there. Our challenge here is to find the symbolic rule that represents the linear function. The linear function has a graph that goes, that's that line right there going through the 2 points. And so we're after the symbolic rule. And we want to write our rule here in slope-intercept form. So let's recall what slope-intercept form is. In general, when y represents the output variable and x the input, any symbolic rule for a linear function can be written this way: y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, the coefficient of that input variable is always the slope, and that guy is the second half of the vertical intercept. 0 comma b would be the vertical intercept of the graph. So that's in general, and so our specific scenario here is h is the input and b is the output. So our shell, if you will, in slope-intercept form will look like this. That being the output variable, h being the input, m is the slope still, and b is part of the vertical intercept. So we only need to find two things to create our symbolic rule: the slope and then the vertical intercept, and replace the values for those guys in there. Well, hopefully you should feel comfortable with finding the slope here between these two guys, because the slope is simply the difference of the outputs, 7 minus 16, over the difference of the inputs, 5 minus 0. So that's going to give me negative 9 over 5. And if you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get negative 1.8. So that either version is good, I should say. So the slope here certainly is going down, so that looks good, and it's going down 1.8. There's 1.8, and then over 1. So that's what that means if you think of that as over 1. All right, so let me write in what we have here in our symbolic rule shell here. The slope now being negative 1.8 times the input variable, and then plus this, whatever this horizontal or vertical intercept is. So now the question is, what's the vertical intercept of our graph? And we can call it done. Whatever it is, we'll plug it in there. And so what is the vertical intercept? Well, you should say, Aaron, it's right there. That's where the graph of our function crosses that axis, and so at 0 comma 16. So look at b, the b value to our symbolic rule is 16. And so now your question should be, Aaron, is it that easy? And the answer is yes. That is our symbolic rule for the linear function of the line that passes through our given points. So and if you want to verify, that's fine. If you plug in a 5 into this rule, you're going to get a 7 coming out of there. I mean, let's just do it for fun, I guess, and verify. So if I plug into my symbolic rule negative 1.8 times 5, so times 5 plus 16, will I get the coordinate of 7? Yeah, 5 is corresponding to 7. So that symbolic rule there, where we go, that symbolic rule is accurate.